All right, let's talk about the Clash of the Titans. Hello, I am Xarkun, and this is World of Warships Legends. Today we're going to take a look at the Godzilla and King Kong commanders that were added to the game as part of the May 2021 update. They join an ever-expanding roster of fictional commanders in the commander menu. We're going to go over their skills, talk about whether I think they are worth it. I'll also show you how to get them if you want to buy them. First up, we've got King Kong. He is an American battleship commander. His base trait, Battle Axe, as you can see highlighted here, increases your battleship's average AA damage per second. So, depending on how much of a threat you think carriers are to your battleship, this is potentially a good anti-aircraft inspiration. As far as his skills go, he's got Not One for the Nuisance, Brawler, and the All-Out Anti-Air. So he's one of the Brawler commanders, just like, I think, all the other fictional American battleship commanders. Crisscross down here, Porcupine, your typical brawling commander skills, but his unique skill, Tear Off the Wings, also buffs the battleship's average anti-aircraft damage per second by 5%, and you'll notice it increases the survivability of the anti-aircraft mounts. This is potentially a useful skill for fighting off aircraft. The anti-aircraft mounts get destroyed by high explosive shells, and if this skill is buffing their survivability by 100%, I don't know if that means they are invincible, but it certainly means that you're not going to lose nearly as many if you find yourself in an American battleship under concentrated high explosive. As far as his third wing, we've got Firefighter, On Second Thought, and down here reaching out XXL, Master Mechanic, or Properly Meticulous. As far as his legendary skills go, he does come with Will to Rebuild, Running with Scissors, and Fight Fire with Fire. As far as what my recommended build on this guy would be, I'd probably go with Not One for the Nuisance, because I don't think Brawler is very good on any American battleships. Then, of course, I would either go for Tear Off the Wings or Crisscross, whatever your choice is. We'll just say this. Then Firefighter, since we already have an anti-fire skill, I'd probably go with Firefighter, actually. And then Master Mechanic and Will to Rebuild. That's probably how I would build this guy if I was going to use him on an American battleship. But I think the only argument for this commander is his base trait and this skill. This is a commander you could use to make a more effective AA build, and that's about as far as it goes. Other than that, I don't think he's that great of an addition to the game. We'll move on to Godzilla, who is a Japanese battleship commander. His base trait, Horrifying Gaze, increases spotter plane duration and reduces spotter plane reload time, which in my opinion is about as good as useless for a base trait. Godzilla, though, is not like Kong. He is not a brawler. You can get Flammable Cannoneer on him to increase the range of your battleship's main guns. Also comes with all-out anti-air and a good day's work in the first row of skills. Second one, Crisscross and Gyrating Drill Bits. Nothing too different from your typical long-range accuracy build battleship commander. The third row of skills is where we see Godzilla's unique skill, which is Thick Hide. Now, this one does actually seem like a decent survivability skill. It reduces the risk of catching fire, although that would be offset if you choose Flammable Cannoneer, because this, of course, increases the risk of catching fire. But it reduces the risk of catching fire, and it increases the amount of hit points recovered by 5% here at rank 10. So this is potentially an interesting skill, although frankly I'd probably be building with Flammable Cannoneer on this guy. I suppose if you didn't want to do that, you could take a good day's work and then you could use that to have sort of more anti-fire battleship build. Then down here you got Properly Meticulous, Emergency Specialist, and Reaching Out XXL. He also comes with Will to Rebuild, Farsight, and Fight Fire with Fire. My opinion, my recommended build would probably be this, and this. But at the same time, I don't think either Godzilla or King Kong are worth buying. If you want a brawler commander for your American battleships, Willis Lee will suit you just fine. And if you want a range/accuracy build for your Japanese battleships, then Takeo Takagi is your guy. I don't think either Godzilla or King Kong are better than their real historical commander counterparts. But I do want to talk a little bit about the fact that in order to acquire these commanders, you have to go to the store. And the only way to acquire the commanders is by buying one of these very expensive packages for nearly 20,000 doubloons. This particular one gets you the Tier 5 Japanese Godzilla battleship. I don't know what it's even called. Basically it's a Fuso with a different skin. Or you could get both ships, or you could just get the American ships, all over 20,000 doubloons. That's the only way to guarantee getting one of the commanders. Otherwise, you have to buy these 2 Titan, 1 King crates for 750 doubloons each, and just take a roll of the dice. I assume if you buy 5 of them, you'll probably end up getting both of the commanders. I don't know exactly what the chance is to get one out of these crates, although it is posted on Wargaming's website, and I will leave a link to it in the description below so that you can actually see the chances that you might get a commander out of these crates. But the bottom line is, if you want one of these guys, you gotta pay doubloons. And if you don't want to pay a crap ton of doubloons, then you have to gamble. This is a problem, I think. Not necessarily with these 2 commanders, Godzilla and King Kong, but there are some fictional commanders of the older variety that were added to this game that, in my opinion, at least, are straight up better than their free-to-play counterparts. I guess the best example I can probably show you is Azurlane Nelson. Azurlane Nelson is, as you can see, a hybrid accuracy survivability battleship commander. She comes with Flammable Cannoneer, but also she comes with Master Mechanic. This allows you to get the range and the accuracy on your guns that Andrew Cunningham would allow you, but it also lets you get extra heals at the same time. And this skill, Big 7, increases the battleship's main high explosive and armor-piercing shell damage by 16% when fully maxed. This is extremely powerful for British battleships with good high explosive, like the King George V, the Nelson, the Vanguard, and the Conqueror. All of these ships benefit immensely from this skill when they are shooting high explosive. The problem is, in order to acquire this commander and make use of this skill, you have to pay real money. And the same is true for all of these commanders. We've got Azurlane Nelson, Azurlane Hood, Azurlane Belfast, Azurlane Queen Elizabeth. That's 4 of them just in the British commander roster. And some of these rosters are far more saturated than that. Take a look at this. We've got Azurlane Scharnhorst, Megatron, Azurlane Graf Spee, Azurlane Hipper, Blue Furiora, John Luke Pickup. That is, 5 of them? And there are how many regular commanders? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there are, 8 regular commanders and 5. They keep adding these guys to the game. Eventually, We are going to see these fake commanders outnumber the real ones. Take a look at the American one, which is the most heavily saturated. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 fictional commanders now in the American line. All of them you have to pay money for. Some of them have incredibly useful skills that are denied to you if you don't have them. Like, not Justinian Lions, rather, but Victor F. Einstein, Whirlabout. This base trait, increase the turret traverse speed of the cruiser's guns, is probably one of the most useful skills that you could put on the American heavy cruisers or as an inspiration on the Japanese heavy cruisers. Why? Because both of them have very, very slow turret traverse, and this skill directly buffs the cruiser's turret traverse. There is no other commander in the game that has a comparable skill. No other free commander, anyway. The closest you have is, I guess, Charles MADDEN, who increases main battery traverse speed by a certain percentage, but it is applied to all classes of ships, and so therefore it is not quite as potent as Victor F. Einstein's skill. And I think this is beginning to become a problem, partly because this commander roster that you see before you has actual historical naval figures from naval history, like Norman Scott, who was essentially an American hero. It's got Norman Scott, and in the same line, we've got Vincent Mordoff, who is just a creation from wargaming. Now, this doesn't particularly bug me all that much, but there are some people who really, really value the historical feel of this game and the fact that you have real-life naval figures like Norman Scott that you can use to command your ships. Some people really, really value that, and they don't really want to see all these fictional commanders here. So that's one aspect. But the more problematic aspect, in my mind, is that some of these commanders, like Einstein, have such good skills on them that you have to pay money for. So essentially, you're paying money to get more out of your commander build, and, you know, that's... make of it what you will. I wouldn't call it pay to win, because you still have to know generally what you're doing in a ship in order to be effective in it. It really doesn't matter what commander you put on it if you don't know what you're doing. But it is definitely pay to have more options, more skills available to you, perhaps more useful skills available to you. And that is a problem, I think. And what's even more of a problem in my mind is that these guys are no longer available. If you want Einstein because you really want this turret traverse skill, too bad. You can't get him. Will he ever be available again? Nobody knows. It's possible, but at this time, there's no way to get Einstein, any of the Azur Lane commanders, this guy, anybody. So I think this is starting to become a bit of an issue, and I'm not sure what wargaming could do to alleviate this problem, aside from stop releasing these guys for money, or else perhaps create some alternatives that have similar skill sets that are free, like the regular commanders of this game. That might be an alternative, and surely there are tons and tons of historical naval personnel out there that you could use as the basis for a commander in this game. However, I think I've gone on too long for this video. The point here is I wouldn't really recommend Kong or Godzilla as commanders. I just don't think there's anything that really sets them apart. At the same time, I think this proliferation of fictional cartoon commanders, whatever you want to call them, is becoming a little bit of an issue in this game. Let me know what you think about that issue in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.